would think about it way more than I would. And I like, what's the word? You know what I'm trying to say?
We were both thinking about the word to try to figure it out.
Put it in the box. Compartmentalize.
There we go.
I do that. I'm like, okay.
What's the...
Whatever. Y'all know what we talking about. I do that.
But mind you, she got 2 degrees.
What I have to do with this? You got what? You older than me? What were you going to say?
I got a degree and you got 2 degrees. What's going on, guys? Welcome to an episode of More Than a Side Hustle. We are your hosts, Anthony and Janoka, and I will go... Janoka.
This is Janoka. Okay, go ahead.
Babe, I know your name.
I know. I'm just letting you know.
I'm trying to over-enunciate your name so that people can make sure they get it. Because they're going to ask you, what's your name?
Go ahead.
So, More Than a Side Hustle, where we help 9-to-5ers create more impact, income, and influence outside their jobs. And you want to talk about what we talking about today?
Yes, but before we hop into that, you just mentioned More Than a Side Hustle. That's a name change for our podcast.
Yeah, we told them the name change before they got here. Hopefully they listen to it, because before you get here, there's an episode where we tell you about the reason for the name change.
Okay.
A minor episode, small episode.
And before we jump in, we do want to read the review of the week. And this is from Tabitha the Realtor. The Heart Zogs are so dope. Gems on every episode. Love the podcast. Thank you so much for leaving that review, which reminds us to have you. Please go ahead and leave us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you enjoy this review. Enjoy listening to us week to week.
Yes.
So happy Valentine's Day. So this podcast is going to be about love in different ways, and basically talking about what happens when you don't love your business anymore. What do you do? How do you get there? What are some strategies to help you? Because it may happen. So
yeah, we're going to offer some tips on how to reignite that spark. And this conversation came up in a very interesting way. We were in a
mastermind.
Yeah.
And the person essentially decided that they wanted to end it because they want to go on a sabbatical and just do things independently. They realized like their business has taken over their life, and they wanted to take time apart to find themselves again, which, listen, I'm all for. But it just triggered us to say, like, what happens when you no longer love your business, and what do you do? How do you get there? But, we always have a little conversation before we get there. It's still in regards to love. You had a topic that we saw on Twitter. That's where you find most things.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp said he pretty much gave us reasons why he never got married. And we're going to play that clip right now, which we thought was super interesting.
I'm looking to get married. Hey, I'm about to be 55. I'm about to be double nickel.
Double nickel, yeah?
Double nickel.
Double nickel.
What you think about it, though?
I want to get married.
Wait. Let's pretend these cameras ain't here.
Yeah.
It's me and you, Bob Shop. I've been talking like they ain't here anyway. What your views on marriage? What do you think?
I would have loved to have gotten married earlier in my career, but my career was the most important thing. So I was no good. I was a terrible father. I probably was a terrible brother, a terrible son. I definitely was a terrible boyfriend because football was the most important thing.
Right.
I was consumed with that. And I was consumed with that because I wanted to get my grandmother and my family out of the conditions that I grew up in. And I said, if I had kids, I didn't want them to spend 1 hour, let alone a year like I spent. So I focused on that. That was the only thing that mattered.
Right.
And I had a lot of women say they could be okay with being with number 2 to football. But when it came right down to it and they see how devout I was in it, they couldn't be.
Right.
And I said, okay. But now I started to realize as I've gotten older in my life, everything that I've accumulated doesn't mean anything if I don't have anybody to share it with. And it took me spending time alone to realize that, yes, Shannon, you're great at what you do. You're in the Hall of Fame. You accomplished a lot. But at the end of the day, who do you share it with?
Ooh, gems.
Since we're talking about love, sometimes you could be too in love with something that you do, where it keeps you from finding that other spark outside of what you're doing.
And the question I had was, I feel like that happens a lot. People are consumed with their career a lot, and they don't prioritize it. But I feel like I've heard him say that. I've heard Shaq recently say that he felt like he wasn't good he wasn't good to his wife, and he feels lonely. And I start to think, like, how many men kind of realize too late in life? Obviously, they can still find someone, right? But they, like you say, he's supposed to be 55 years old. Usually, maybe in your 30s, 40s is when you're settling down. And I'm like, how many men realize too late in life that having that family is important, or having someone to share it with, even if you're not married, but just someone to share it with.
Yeah. A lot of men realize that, and we're seeing especially entertainers and people like that realizing that they were too focused on their business. And Eric Thomas says this quote all the time, and I want to repeat it. He said, making money in your business is the easy part. But where is your family? Where are your kids? Where are your spouse at? We can have all the money in the world, but if we don't have people to share that money with or share that time with, what's the whole reason that we're doing the thing that we're doing? Because we got to remember the true reason that we're here on earth. The reason that we're here on earth is not money. No one's going to say that, oh, you're the richest man in the world. That's fantastic. But what are your kids going to say? What are your family going to say? You're going to say you're the richest man in the world, but you didn't spend time with me. You didn't spend time with your wife. You didn't spend time with your kids. You have all the money in the world, but if you're not using that money to spend time with the people who actually matter, none of it will actually matter. They're not going to put your net worth on your tombstone.
Right.
No one's going to put your net worth on your tombstone saying, I was worth $2.5 billion. Your tombstone says
Father,
your name,
son,
father,
brother.
son, husband, great, caring individual. So we spend all this time trying to make all the money in the world, but we're forgetting the true reason that we're here. And a lot of times that true reason is to spend time with the people who matter most.
Which is funny because, and I wonder if it just has to do with the career that they're in, because I know that you have said, and I've seen stats that say most men in like a higher level in companies, directors, managers are married.
Yeah.
Right? Most men that make it further in their career are married. So I wonder if it just has to do with the role that they're in, the life that they're in, that makes them not like settle down right away. Probably.
I think a lot of it has to come down to your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So a married person is normally more focused than a single person. If I'm married, that means I can focus on one thing. And that one thing may be my wife. That one thing may be my kid. And I could say most managers and directors at my company were married men. And they were able to, all of them were married men. We had 25, 30, and all of them were married men. That means they have a single focus. That means they're all in alignment. That means that they could come around a group of like-minded people with common values, common alignment, and we're all married. We all have kids. We all have a family, and we all have a common goal in the company.
Yeah.
If I'm bringing a single person into a married group, you're not going to fit in because our goals may not be in alignment with each other.
Yeah, you could kick it, but yeah.
You can kick it, but we are not going to be on the same ship steering the same boat. We could be in the same, we could hang out. We could be on the same boat when we're not steering in the same direction as bringing a single person into the married group. So a lot of men that are married at my previous company, you could say like they're all in alignment with what they're doing and they got one clear goal.
Because it's bigger than just them.
That's what life really is.
Yeah.
Life should be that is bigger than what you're doing.
The lesson is men get it together.
That's not the lesson.
That's not the lesson.
We're talking about marriage. We're talking about love. And love, we're talking about love for your career. We're talking about love for your business. We're talking about love for entrepreneurship. We're talking about love for your family. And since it is Valentine's Day, this is all just around love. And
love.
We're going to make it.
Peace and love.
We're going to make it make sense because this is the More Than a Side Hustle podcast. We got to talk to you, change your mindset from just creating a side hustle to building something more than that. And building something more than that means creating things that are larger than yourself. And a side hustle normally is not going to be larger than yourself.
Yes. So, like I said, we always do that intro, but we want to hop into the topic today. And like we mentioned, you don't love your business anymore. Now what? But let's speak about what kind of gets you there, right? So we read that a recent report said that as many as a third of entrepreneurs fall out of love with their business, and 24% of those say that this happens several times a year. Sounds like once a quarter, if you ask me. And it kind of makes sense because if you compare it to, a relationship, which your business is kind of like a relationship, and you have some couples that say that they never argue. You're like side eye. Things go wrong, things go up and down, and that's probably the most important thing I would say, that a business can be so similar to a relationship that there's ups and downs, there's work, there's so much that you have to do, and sometimes you fall out of love with it. Sometimes you're not as excited about it. Sometimes you're questioning, what's the reason I'm still doing this craziness? What's the reason I'm still struggling here? So let's hop into, we're going to just list 3 reasons why people fall out of love with business, but obviously there is a ton more that we can't list at all, but one of them is burnout. And I would say that's probably the one that I would resonate the most with. Not that I feel like we have reached burnout, but I can see how easy it can become to reach burnout. Because usually when you're starting a business or you have a business, at first you're the only one doing it, right? You're wearing all the hats, whatever that may look like. And then you may start to delegate and grow and so on and so forth. But it's when it's your business, it's always on your mind. There's no stopping, right? When you're at a 9 to 5, I leave at 5. Most of the time, most jobs, I can leave at 5, I leave it there. When you have your business, there is no end. Something goes wrong on a Sunday, you at church, you stepping outside of church. You know what I mean? So that burnout, I think, would probably be the number one reason why people fall out of love with their business. What would you say?
Yeah, burnout to me is probably the largest one, because once you burned out, you don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, all right, I'm burned out, and the business relies solely on you to make money, then the business is going to stop growing. The business is not going to make any progress. The business is not going to keep going. So once you reach that phase of burnout, you have to figure out, all right, how do I, number one, recognizing that I am burned out. How would you say a person recognizes that? Like, how do I know when I'm burned out?
I think that's something that it constantly changes, because we speak about that, right? There's certain seasons where I just have to do more, right? But how long is that season? What's the goal? What's the end goal of that? And then I know for us, it's a bit easier because we can check each other's temperature. Like, we have each other to say, all right, we're reaching to the point of, or we're not getting anywhere here, those type of things. I think when you're hitting a wall constantly, when you're constantly frustrated, I think those are maybe signs of burnout. But also burnout looks different for everyone, right? So what it may be for you may be different for me, so on and so forth.
I know. When you normally point it out for me. And I mean, that's
absolutely.
one of the things that we...
I don't know that you ever feel like you're burnt out.
I think one of the things that you have to learn as someone, even at your 9 to 5, is that you have to recognize when you hit a roadblock, and you got to be able to step away. Sometimes I can't recognize that. So you have someone that has to come in and help you recognize that, whether that's a business partner, whether that's a friend, or people at work have like work wives, and it may not be like in that negative connotation way, but somebody just to kind of keep you like, I know you had an attitude today, like, everything good. Or even just your coworkers, you may have a management team, and their goal is to keep you in line, keep you in check. So I know a lot of times with me, you may say, all right, like the other day you came back and said, all right, you got an attitude today, like everything okay? And I had to sit back like, yeah, I guess I did have attitude, and then let me figure out why I had the attitude, or why I felt like I was thinking about the business all day. So recognizing or having someone help you recognize when you're not normally yourself can be a sign of you being burnt out, or just you needing to take time away from yourself to kind of focus more on the business. Because
I think that, when it's your business, it's completely different when you're at your 9 to 5 or your career, because you don't own it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not to say you may not love it, but you're usually not as connected as when you own the business. Everything feels personal, even if it may not be. Everything, it falls on you. Essentially, even if you delegate out, even if you're the biggest CEO, you got 10 employees, things still fall on you. So you kind of feel that pressure, along with making sure that the business is running. Now you're trying to make sure that these people that's working for you are getting paid and doing their job. And so everything just kind of adds on. So being able to manage that, like I said, I would say that's probably one of the biggest reasons people fall out of love with their business. And then you start to say to yourself, did I start this entrepreneurial life to live the same way that I was living when I was working my 9 to 5? Most likely not. Most likely you wanted some type of freedom, and seeing how that fits in. So
yeah, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, like you said, we build these. We think that we're going to start these businesses and we're going to be able to travel the world and do things and do that. But then, like you said, most of the time we're sitting there thinking about the business all the time. So are you really enjoying the life that you want to live? Because if you leave your job, you walk out that door at 5 o'clock, the job is still there. The job is going to be there tomorrow. You may not have to think about it, but in your business, you're always constantly thinking about it. So that could be even just a mentally burning out, thinking about your business all day, all night. And that's something that I definitely go through. And I know other entrepreneurs can relate, where you're always thinking about the business. And sometimes that could be that will be mentally draining.
You know me, I always say too much of anything is not good for you. So, and then I think about, like, why do you, I think it can play into personalities as well, like personality types as well. Because I always think about sometimes, like, why do you think about the business so much? And one could say, I don't think about it as much.
That's
right? Huh?
That's you.
That's what I'm saying. I think it plays into personalities because we're both in the business. We both need to work together to make money. We both need to do all these things to make sure that it works. But for some reason, you would think about it way more than I would. And I like, what's the word? You know what I'm trying to say?
We were both thinking about the word to try to figure it out.
Put it in the box. Compartmentalize.
There we go.
I do that. I'm like, okay.
What's the
whatever? I know what we talking about.
The other half.
I do that.
Mind you, she got 2 degrees.
What I have to do with this? You got to what? You older than me? What were you gonna say?
I got a degree and you got 2 degrees.
And I do that. I'm like, okay, we need to record the podcast. Okay, done. And I'm out. And you're like, you know what I mean? So that happens with us too. So that's one.
So burnout.
Next reason why people fall out of love with the business is chasing money. Now, of course, you start the business to make money. Understandable. But it's not everything. And you'll quickly kind of realize that when you're in a business that it's not everything. You know how we speak about like every customer isn't good for you and you know, you don't belong, everybody won't be for you, that type of stuff. Money is not everything. And I understand some may say I'm coming from a privileged place because I have money from my business or I have a high paying 9-to-5. But as you hear sometimes like celebrities and other people speak about, like just because I have the money doesn't mean that it equates to me constantly feeling happy or anything like that. Yes, it may allow more freedoms and other things, but it's not the end all be all. So just chasing money, how do you set those goals and things outside of money when it comes to the business, basically?
I think when we chase money, there's never an end goal. The end goal can't be more money. There has to be a bigger reason as to what you want to do with that money. So if more money is a goal, what is the reason you want more money? So setting what that why is, and we're going to talk about that as well, but figuring out why do you want more money? What is the end goal of having that money? And usually the end goal is to create more time, create more freedom, create a better lifestyle. Now, does the lifestyle mean for me, does it mean, all right, going to buy a fancy car or getting a bigger house or going to fly private? You got to figure out the importance of why do you want more money? Because at the end of the day, when our coach asks us, all right, how much do you want to make? You say $1 million. Do you need $1 million? Yeah. You say 1.5. Do you need 1.5?
How much money?
The goal is 3. Do you need 3 million? What exactly? What's the exact amount of money you need that's going to make you live the life that you want to live? So keep chasing money is chasing a never-ending goal. And I'm reading a book, 10X Rule right now. And we'll probably be talking about this over the next couple of episodes. So hopefully I'm done by then. But in the book, the whole premise of the book is people underestimate the amount of work it takes to be successful. And being successful is a never-ending journey. So being successful is not, what I did in year 1. Being successful is not what I did in year 5. Being successful is what I'm doing today and what I'm going to do tomorrow. So what you did in year 1 is fantastic, but what are you doing today and what are you doing tomorrow?
That's in the past.
So now we're chasing money. So yeah, I had a $100,000 a month, or I had $1 million a year, or $100,000 a year. That's great. That's successful for then. But then now we're always chasing money. So now you're trying to figure out, all right, how can I beat that level of success by attaining more money? And you're always going to be in a hamster wheel if you keep thinking about it like that. Like always chasing that next dollar.
Yep. And the third thing is losing track of your why, which is what you kind of touched on that. That is the first thing that we mentioned in our course.
We own a 7-figure cleaning business, and we teach people how to start and scale 6 or 7-figure cleaning businesses. And the best part about it is that you don't have to clean a single house. You want to check out Cleaning Business University so that you don't have to continue chasing money. You could start with finding your why, figuring out why you're starting this business and getting to that goal. Our why was paying off $114,000 of debt, and we were able to do that in 23 months. And one of the main reasons why we were able to do that, because we started something more than a side hustle. We built a $1 million side hustle, which we realized that we should have stopped calling it a side hustle a long time ago. So check out Cleaning Business University if you're looking to build something that is more than a side hustle. That's it.
cleaningbusinessuniversity.com.
Yes.
We'll be in the show notes. But finding out your why is the first part of our course. Because there are going to be roadblocks, there are going to be hard times, there are going to be customers that annoy you, there's going to be things that happen within your business that you need to go back to your why. You need to go back to figure out, why did I start this? Why am I continuing to do this? Like we said, like he mentioned, when we first started our cleaning business, it was to pay off $114,000 of debt. That was our why. That was our goal. That's what we were striving towards. What is your why? Why is it important to you? And so sometimes we lose track of that, and that helps to contribute to us not loving our business anymore, because we're just in the hamster wheel of getting things done and not kind of recognizing or revisiting the reason that we're doing it.
So what happens when you achieve your why and you have to recreate, you have to go back? We want to talk about what to do when this actually happens, but figuring out, all right, we paid off our debt. So the main reason for the cleaning business was to help us pay off the debt. We paid off the debt. So now what's the why? So figuring out, making that adjustment where you say, all right, I achieved one of my goals. Now, is there a larger goal I want to get to? What's the next steps for me? So that's very important, especially when you already hit the goal and trying to figure out what that next one is.
So those are the 3 reasons why we say people fall out of love with their business, but we want to speak about what to do. Now, you recognize I'm falling out of love. I'm hitting roadblocks. I'm not excited about it anymore. What to do when that happens.
And this is not just us just preaching to you guys. These are things that we're constantly doing. We're constantly evaluating. These are things that we're implementing because we hit stages like this. So we said that we were in a mastermind. Then she was making millions of dollars and decided that they didn't want to do the mastermind anymore. So we hit stages like that in our cleaning business and everything else. Like even with, we talk about the cleaning business a lot because that's our first business, but like figuring out, all right, what is the next step for you? So we're going to talk about some of those next steps that you take when you've fallen out of love.
So the first one is understand if it's really an issue with you or the business. As entrepreneurs, we carry a lot of ourselves with our work. So is it the business? Is the business not doing well financially? Is it not growing? Is it the employees that you work with, the contractors you work with? Or is there stuff happening in your personal life that's coming into the business, right? Because that happens as well. We all have things happen outside of our work, outside of our jobs. Our business and our jobs is not our end all be all. We have lives, right? So sometimes we don't recognize that, because I got frustrated with my husband, now I'm feeling like the business is a flop altogether because of that one argument or whatever somebody said to me, or, my boss said this to me and now I'm carrying it into my business. So really understanding and maybe documenting, writing down, is it really the business not growing? Is it really the business having issues? Is there really constant complaints? Or is it something that's happening in my personal life that's spilling over, essentially?
Yeah, that's a big one too. When you mention those arguments, it may not even just be with your spouse. It could be just with customers.
Yeah.
You get enough customers that annoy you. You get enough customers that frustrate you. You get enough customers where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Or refunds or something.
And you may realize that it may not be the business. It may just be the customers you're working with. So figuring out if those are the type of people you want to work with, or is it not the people, it's actually the crappy job that your business is doing. So freaking that happened to us in our cleaning business where we had a bunch of issues at the same time, and it was like, we want to get rid of this business. When in actuality, we had to figure out a way to solve the problems in the business. And solving the problems meant hiring the right people, getting them in the right spaces, or even we're going to talk about delegating, or even delegating those services out to someone else to manage the part of the business you absolutely hate.
So that's number one. So sorry, I forgot to mention, we're going to list 11 things that you can do when you're falling out of love with your business to kind of check your temperature. The second thing is take some time and space for yourself. So at our 9-to-5s, we are able to take sabbaticals or leave of absences, things like that. PTO, that type of stuff. With the business, you feel like you can't stop it. And we speak about that. If you can't, what do we say sometimes? If someone else can't run your business, if you can't step away and someone else can't run your business, then you don't have a business, right? So are you able to take some time apart and space for yourself? Were we able to enjoy our newborn when she was born, or do we still have to do that work, right? So stepping away, taking a break, looking from the outside in. When you take a break, it usually gives you more clarity. Right? So taking that break, taking that time, whatever that time looks like. Is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 3 months? Whatever that looks like for your business still sustain would be helpful for you to kind of figure out, how do I regain that fire that I'm looking for, ignite that fire in me.
Yeah, that's a big one, taking time and space for yourself, because if you can't do that, you're going to be on a hamster wheel forever. And you want to get there before you need it. You want
That's
to
a
make
big
sure
thing, too.
you want to make sure in your business that you have someone in place ready to go to help you run and manage your business before you need it, because at some point you're going to recognize that you are doing the same things over and over again, not getting anywhere. So in business, you definitely want to make sure you have someone that's able to give you that time off before you absolutely need it, because you're going to crash at that point.
Yeah. I mean, even we do that just within our relationship. If that means like, all right, I'm going to the gym, or like for you, you have that you take your daily walks at a certain time, but sometimes you're like, I'm going now.
Yeah.
Because I just need that space now. And that's okay. But I think the other thing is with all of these steps is you recognizing it. And as you mentioned, kind of getting ahead of it before things kind of burn and crash, essentially.
Maybe putting it out on a calendar too, making sure you're putting dedicated space and time for yourself on your calendar. And people talk about self-love all the time, but you got to have self-love in your business too. You put that space, you put that time, you put it on your calendar, you make it a duty, you make it a priority for yourself, so that you're not getting to that point where you're like, I am crashed, I am done, I am walking out, I am leaving. So that's a way to kind of combat that as well.
The third thing is identifying what you're passionate about and how to align it with your business. So I think that there's some things that you have to do for the business, right? It's a necessity. But then there's other things that you may had all these creative ideas that you want to do for the business, and making sure that you kind of implement it, like your values, basically making sure that it aligns for your business. Do you have values? Do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? You know, all those type of things. So identifying what that might be and how can I implement it into my business. Now, I understand. It's not like you're implementing like, okay, I love to work out, so how do I put that into the cleaning business? You know what I mean? But in regards to whatever your business is, if that's coaching, consultation, doing hair, anything like that, what am I passionate about when it comes to those things? What is something specific that I can do, that I can offer, that would make me excited about it again? Usually when we do new things, it makes it more exciting, even if it's a challenge, right? So
yeah, with that one, we've just recently went through this, and I said, I'm not passionate about the cleaning business, but what I am passionate about is the ability to help people start new businesses, begin their first journey of entrepreneurship, start something that they've never done before, and getting those first moments of how I can do something outside my job and build it into, again, more than a side hustle. So helping people get alignment with what they want to do in life, or giving them ideas, that's what excites me. That's what I'm passionate about. So you don't have to be necessarily passionate about the daily task or what it is, but maybe it's the outcome of the task that you're doing to get people to where they want to be in life. That's what I'm passionate about. So that was something that I had to do to kind of like a self-discovery exercise.
Number 4, and this may be a big one, maybe it's time to stop. Now, that is, I think, something, it's very difficult, it's very personal, it's very individual to figure out when it is time to stop a business. We speak on 8 months into our first business, which is the cleaning business. We were like, this ain't working, let's just stop it. Now, it was our first business, it was only 8 months. Most businesses 8 months ain't nothing. Let's be very clear, right? So at least a year. Other thing was we weren't losing any money. So what were we stopping it for? Right? We were stopping it because we felt like it just wasn't going well. We speak about those customers that are constantly complaining, that can weigh you down and things like that. But that, really evaluating if it's time to stop, but also I don't know that that's something that we can tell you when it is time to stop, right? That's something that you kind of have to figure out on your own, but it might be. If it's a financial burden, if it's a mental burden, if you feel like you gave yourself a timeline, a cutoff time, and it just isn't working, then maybe it is time to stop. And maybe that's what you do when you've fully fallen out of love with your business.
Yeah, I don't got nothing for that. So next one, delegate tasks that you find to be monotonous, tasks that you're doing every single day. So for example, we're always going to go back to our story because that's what we most relate to, and that's what you guys can most relate to. Tasks that we found monotonous was doing customer service in our cleaning business. So it may not be you hating your business. It may just be you hating a certain task that you don't want to do anymore. So you have to make sure you're getting that task off your plate so that you could find time to do things that you actually enjoy doing. So if we're like, all right,
move the needle on the business.
If we're able to delegate the task that we hate the most, which was customer service, answering phones, but we knew that task also brought us in revenue, we realized that if we hate doing this task, but it also brings us in money, we have to get someone who is skilled in taking up phone calls, getting us at least out the day-to-day of just picking up the phone. So that was one of the first things we did when we started not when we started our cleaning business, but during the journey of our cleaning business. Even with our properties, the first thing we did was get property management. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't the first. It was like probably the second thing we did was get property management, because we said we can't deal with getting phone calls from another state and figuring out who's going to go out there and do the job. Or even in our local state out here in Dallas, like in Texas, like we can't find someone. We don't want to. We don't want to find someone.
Let's be clear. Yeah.
Number one, we don't want the issues. Number two, we don't want to have to worry about it on weekends. And number three, we don't want to have to be the middleman to get someone out there to do the job. So we said, when we buy properties, our goal is to have a property management team in place so that they could deal with this. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely out the business. Mm-hmm. That just means that you're another step removed from some of the day-to-day tasks you find to be monotonous.
Right. And like we said, that's one thing that's also personal as well. Because some people say, well, it's just one property. Why don't you just do it yourself? But what is the life that you want to live? We speak about that. What is the life that you want to live? And for us, that means that I'm removed from some of these things. I don't want to have to deal with that day to day, because I have other things happening that I have to deal with day to day. So delegating, and a book that we've read was, I'm trying to remember it, Who Not How by... Dan Sullivan is a great book to read if you want to know more about how do you delegate. And number 6 kind of ties into, I think, delegating. Number 6 is streamline processes to make things run more smoothly. A lot of us are first-time business owners. A lot of us are just starting out on a journey being entrepreneurs, and we don't have any systems in place. Listen, we have been through that. We are like trying to get that more systems in place when it comes to our businesses to this day. And I think that would help us to not feel so frustrated, to not feel like things are such a burden if we have some things in place. You know, the SOPs, what does SOP stand for again?
Standard operating procedures.
Standard operating procedures. What to do when, basically, in your business. What does that look like? Having those things in place can help the business run more smoothly, which then doesn't make it feel like such a burden or frustrating to you. So if you don't have those things, if you don't have, like we just mentioned, the delegation, if you don't have the SOPs or some type of systems in place, then you are probably hitting a wall almost every day, almost every week, because you're repeating the same thing, not knowing what to do.
And I even want to give practical tips on that one. So the delegation and to create SOPs, I recommend you create an outline. So your outline is going to be what I have to do, what I may need to do, and what I absolutely don't have to do. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be two extremes: what I have to do as a business owner and what I don't have to do as a business owner. Mm-hmm. And what you have to do as a business owner, it may be, all right, when you start maybe doing sell calls, it may be, doing some back end work, it may be administration, it may be payroll. And then what I don't have to do is answer the phones. I don't have to do the customer service. I don't have to do this. So you're creating those two tasks, and the things that you're unsure about, those are going to go in the middle. So that may be like the maybe task. So maybe I could do this, or maybe I don't have to do. So if you're starting your process to figure out your SOPs and also the tasks you're going to delegate, you can start by delegating those tasks that you don't have to do. And that's going to be something that allows you to streamline that process. Now you're going to say, all right, the tasks that I have to do, I have to create an outline around those tasks. Mm-hmm. So the things that I do have to do, if I say, all right, I got to do the sales calls because no one knows my business like me. Well, maybe I need to create the standard operating procedure, the SOP around the sales calls so that I can delegate that down the line. Mm-hmm. So writing down exactly what you're doing in your business so that you can move that on to the things that you don't have to do in your business down the line.
Mm-hmm. Number 7, go ahead.
So take time to not just be in the business, but also work on your business. That kind of go. I mean, all of these go along with each other, but it's taking time to work not just in the business, but also on the business. I think.
What does that mean?
So, for example, for us, we had to get to the point where we told our operations manager, like, listen, when we have our phone calls, our weekly check-in calls, I don't need to know who is doing what on a daily basis. I don't need to know that this person messed up on his cleaning, or this customer wanted a refund, or this person, because that was becoming draining to me. Hearing those customer issues kind of brought me back into when we were answering the phone calls. Mm-hmm. So I told Janoko, we got to figure out a way to streamline even just that call so that we don't have to listen to the day ins and day outs of what's happening. So I want to work on the business. I want to know what are the metrics. I want to know how many calls came in, how many were leads, how many are we doing follow-ups with. So creating those metrics, those key performance indicators for us was very important so that we could even streamline that conversation to focus on the business and not just focus in the business. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And creating time to do that too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the way that you work on your business is part of the delegating, right?
Yeah.
It's part of you being the CEO of your business and not necessarily the one cleaning the homes, but I'm the one marketing. I'm the one finding out like where our marketing dollars are going. How can we better that system? How do we get more people into the funnel? That type of stuff. So number 8 and I'm going to combine number 8 and 9. So it's really going to be 10 things of what to do when you fall out of love with your business. But it mentions joining a professional networking group with high energy, enthusiastic members, and also finding new opportunities. I'm going to combine that to be like a mastermind, basically. And what is a mastermind? A mastermind is not necessarily a coaching. It is really you getting around other people, like-minded people that may be some at your level, some way above, some way below, but they can still bring something to the community or the mastermind. And you're kind of just bouncing ideas off of each other. You're speaking about your experiences. You're speaking about how you build SOPs. You're speaking about just a range of different things because everybody's business is different, right? Some people have teams, some people don't. How do I start to get a team? What is a job ad? So there's so many different realms of it. So getting into a mastermind may be a way for you to fall back in love with your business because now you're getting new ideas that you've never thought about. And now you're hearing things from people like, wow, I didn't think about that. I should try this. Maybe I'll do this, that type of stuff. Or I tried it this way before, but it didn't work. Maybe because I could add this one thing in it. So masterminding, I think, can be a game changer for a lot of people because you don't know what you don't know. Right. And the only way to find out more information is to get around people that do know more than you or have done things differently from you.
Yeah, and even if you're afraid of the word mastermind, you're like, I don't want to join a mastermind. It's a professional networking group, essentially, is what it is. Mm-hmm. So when we started the conversation, we said that we joined a mastermind, right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what this was. It's a professional networking group with entrepreneurs, content creators, things like that. And it allowed us to get around people that are different levels from us. Mm-hmm. So that was a reason why we joined it. It's like, all right, may not be the falling out of love, but there are different things that we could do in our business to help us get to that next level. Mm-hmm. And the way to do that is by joining people who are already at that next level, finding out what they're doing. And you find out what they're doing by joining these masterminds. And so even people who are at different levels, they may join a mastermind so that they can stay sharp. So I was like, all right, one person is like extremely talented in this area, and he may be in that group just to stay sharp, or she may be in that group just to stay on top of their P's and Q's, or they may not even remember what they did 5-10 years ago.
And like, oh, let me get back to that.
Exactly. Let me get back to the basics. So joining a professional networking group or AKA mastermind would allow you to figure out what's the next step in your business or what other people are doing so that you could get back in love.
Yes,
with your business.
Yes. And that, the masterminding kind of reminds of what we said about getting into the room and getting around those other people, because for businesses, we always need to be growing and educating, even if it's not specifically, oh, I'm learning how to scrub walls in the cleaning business, but I may take something that somebody else says for marketing or anything to help my business.
And they could even find, and usually, even with a mastermind or just a professional networking group, they could tell you where holes are in your business too.
Mm-hmm.
They
Easily
could tell
too.
you. They could be looking at, oh, you're like, we had a call.
You're not doing this.
we had a call with someone, and they were literally like, oh, well, you're doing everything. Or it's like, why haven't you thought about delegating this? Why haven't you thought about having someone do that? And it was like,
I don't know.
Something
so simple.
Like,
and you always say that too. Like Anthony always says, we continue to educate ourselves and take courses and things like that, because there's usually, always just one thing that you take away from whatever it is, a mastermind, a course or something like that. You may be like, oh, I don't think it's going to be I'm going to be able to implement it, but it's one thing that you take from it and it was worth it. That changes your business, that changes your mindset and things like that. So masterminding, I rally around that. Hopefully we can get into another one soon. It was technically going to be like our first mastermind outside of our coaches.
And I know like you said, a lot of times we think that we have to join these high-level coaching or high-level group things. And like you said, it doesn't even have to be the entire experience. It could be just one thing that you take away and you implement in your business that absolutely changes the structure of your business, or absolutely changes how you're going to do things, or it absolutely changes what your mindset is going to be going forward. So don't go into these things thinking I'm going to find every gem. I'm going to pick up every stone throw. I'm going to catch everything that they throw at me. No, it could just be a few things here and there that allows you to change your mindset that gets you to that next level, whatever that next level may be for you.
Yes. Number 9 is keeping hold of your vision. And an example that was given here was just kind of like, as parents, you usually stick together for the goal of your child, right? Whatever it is, you want to make sure they're healthy, that you love and you raise them and things like that. And if you're working with a co-founder, kind of like what we do, we hope to build a business that we love and is successful. So the end goal, right? So keeping hold of your vision and what the end goal is. Does it mean I want to sell the company? Does it mean I want to, give it down to my children? Does it mean I want to build generational wealth? What is kind of the end goal of this? What is the goal of it? And keeping the hold of that vision, keeping hold of your why. Remember we spoke about losing track of that? Figuring out those type of things is important when it comes to you falling back in love with your business. Finding out what the why is. How do I maintain that vision that we did have at one point? And is it still the same vision? Is another thing as well, like checking to see, is it still the same goal that we want or that I want for my business? Nothing for that? Okay, go ahead. And number 10.
No, last one is getting back to doing what you love. A lot of times we start these things, whether it is something outside our 9 to 5s or whether it is at our jobs, and we forget the reason that we started. You forget what the beginning goal was. We forget, all right, 5 years ago, I prayed for this. 5 years ago, I was hoping this would work. 5 years ago, I was praying to be where I am today. So a lot of times we forget that when we started 5 years ago, our goal was to be where we are. We're exceeding the goal. We're doing big things. We're trying to figure out the next steps, and we always forget where we started at. So making sure you're still remembering what you love about what you started with and remembering what you love about what you're doing.
And, they gave an example here, which is good in regards to selling products. Sometimes we're selling things and doing things that we wouldn't even buy. So why am I selling it, right? Yeah. Now, it doesn't make any sense. Like you got to think of it on the customer side as well. What's the customer experience, that type of stuff. So getting back to what you love. And I know sometimes when you have, you see things, you listen to podcasts or read books or you hear coaches and other thing, you're just following that. And it's like, how do you get back to what worked, what I love, what helped me to even get into this business? How do I get back to that actually makes me happy? Like, I want to be happy. I don't need to love every single part of the business, but I don't want to hate it either, because then that feels like I could have just stayed where I was. If you left a 9 to 5, I could have just stayed there. If I didn't, I would stay there. I don't want to be in that place now I'm working 80 hours and I'm hating it. Yeah. Right? So that's another thing, getting back to what you love, whatever that may be, whatever that style may be, whatever product that may be, do it. I feel like when you love something or you at least like something, you put more effort, it shows in a different way. Versus you just trying to, as we spoke about, if you're just chasing the money, then it'll show as well throughout your business. So let's see what else. Those are the 10 things that we had of what to do when you fall out of love with your business. We hope that this information helps somebody. I feel like as an entrepreneur, at some point of your business, one of these things may resonate with you, that you may be able to tap in and utilize when you are feeling not the best, feeling like this ain't it, because that happens. Yeah. This ain't it, and you can use at least one of these tools.
And we hope that y'all enjoy your Valentine's Day too. Y'all listen to us on Valentine's Day, so leave us some love. Show us some love. When we talking about love,
YouTube,
leave us some love, man. We appreciate y'all getting through the end of the episode. Drop us 5 stars if you felt like this is a 5-star episode, 5-star podcast. More Than a Side Hustle is our name, and our goal is to continue to help you guys and show up every single week. We do have a Patreon. If you want to show us some love, we do have a Patreon where you can support us. We have I think it's called Creative Director, where you get inside scoop on the episodes and some other things. So make sure you tap into there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you give us a like, a thumbs up, a share, and make sure you subscribe at the Heartrimony. So appreciate you guys being here. Welcome to another episode, and thank you so much, and have a great V-Day.
Peace.
This has been an episode of the Heartzog Hustle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Janilka on Instagram at The Heartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that money.